A life plan. Applying Buddhist wisdom in daily life. To make the best use of our human potential, we need not only a practical aim in life, but a life plan for achieving that aim. The preceding two sections of this essay show the groundwork for developing a proper sense of values, the values essential for gaining happiness, success, and security within the mundane life, and for progressing towards the ultimate goal of the Buddhist path, Nibbana. While we walk along the path to liberation, as laypeople, we have to live in the world, and our immediate objective will be to make our life in the world both a means to worldly success and a stepping stone to final liberation. To accomplish this, we must organize our life within the framework of the Noble Eightfold Path. We can best realize our immediate aims by drawing up an individual life plan in keeping with our powers and circumstances. This life plan must be realistic. It must envisage a realistic development of our innate potential, steering us towards the fullest actualization of our possibilities. At the start, we require an honest understanding of ourselves. It is pointless to devise a workable life plan on the foundation stone of grandiose delusions about our character and abilities. The more we find out about ourselves by self-observation and self-examination, the better will be our chances of self-improvement. We should ask ourselves how far and to what degree we are generous, kind, even-tempered, considerate, honest, sober in morals, truthful, diligent, energetic, industrious, cautious, patient, tolerant, and tactful. These are the qualities of a well-developed Buddhist, the qualities we ourselves should emulate. We need to improve ourselves wherever we are weak. A little practice every day is all that is necessary. We should remember that the more often an action is performed, the easier it becomes for us to perform it in the future, and the stronger becomes the tendency to do it again and again until it becomes a habit, an ingrained part of our character. Our life plan should cover all the main areas of a normal householder's life, including occupation, marriage, the procreation and raising of children, retirement, old age, and death. The happiness of lay life consists in finding out exactly what one can do and doing it well. A clear mental picture of a practical aim in life and a realistic sketch of the steps needed to achieve that aim will help guide us to the fulfillment of our ideal. We tend to become what we really want to be, provided we act realistically and effectively to realize our aim. Obstacles. The following 5 states are likely to prevent or block the success of our efforts to lead the upright life of a Buddhist lay follower. They are called by the Buddha the 5 mental hindrances, panchanivarana, because they close the doors to both spiritual and worldly progress. Although the Buddha originally taught them as the main obstacles to meditation, with a little reflection, we can see that they are equally detrimental to success in our mundane undertakings. 1. The first of the 5 hindrances is sensual craving, obsessive hankering for possessions or for the gratification of the senses. While the lay Buddhist will seek wealth and possessions as an integral part of mundane happiness, he will also be aware of the limits to be observed in their pursuit. He will recognize that if one obtains wealth and position by unjust means, or becomes excessively attached to them, they will become a source of misery and despair rather than of joy and contentment. Money alone cannot solve all our problems. Many people never learn this and spend their time and energy accumulating wealth and the so-called good things it can buy. But in fact, the more they acquire, the more they want. Such people can never find happiness. A lay Buddhist must be moderate in all things. Extreme desires for riches, the enjoyment of sex, liquor, the ostentatious display of one's success, are sure signs of internal insecurity, things to be avoided. 2. Ill will or hatred, the second hindrance, is the emotional opposite of desire, yet it is an equally potent obstacle to personal development. Because we are attracted to desirable things, we are repelled by what is undesirable. Like and dislike are the two forces that delude the world, leading people astray into conflict and confusion and drenching the earth with blood. Both are born of ignorance. Desire colors everything in tinsel and drives us to acquire what we want. Hatred colors everything black and drives us to destroy what we suspect is inimical to our interests. The best way to overcome hatred is by cultivating loving kindness, explained later in this essay. 3. Indolence and mental inertia is the next hindrance, the obstacle to strenuous effort. The lazy person is not inclined to strive for correct understanding or high standards of conduct. He is a drifter or a dreamer, easy prey to the thieves of craving and hatred. 4. Restlessness and worry are twin hindrances very much in evidence today. Restlessness is manifest in the agitation, impatience, thirst for excitement, and unsettled character of our daily existence. Worry is the guilt and remorse that one feels when one broods sadly or regretfully over an evil deed that has been done or a good deed left undone. The best remedy for a lapse or transgression already committed is to decide never to repeat it. The best remedy for neglecting to do good is to do it without delay. 5. The last hindrance is doubt. Doubt is the inability to decide, the lack of resolution that prevents one from making a firm commitment to higher ideals and from pursuing the good with a steady will. These 5 hindrances are great handicaps to one's progress. They deprive the mind of understanding and happiness and cause much unnecessary suffering. By cultivating the 5 cardinal virtues, confidence, energy, mindfulness, concentration, and wisdom, and by constant effort one can reduce their harmful influence. Relaxation. Modern life is full of stress and strain. Therefore, relaxation is a necessary ingredient of happiness. By understanding the causes of stress and by regulating these causes, we can live calmly even in the midst of strenuous activity. Hard work without tension never killed anyone. Why is it then that some people always work anxiously and feverishly? Generally, such a person is driven by craving, by intense desire. He wants to achieve his goal so eagerly, with such avidity, that he simply cannot rest until he gets it. Or he is so fearful of losing something he prizes that he cannot relax and enjoy the present moment. Or he is driven by resentment against those who obstruct his thirst. Or he is constantly hankering after power, position, and prestige on account of some irrational need to prove his worth to himself and others. If a person wants to avoid stress and strain, then he will have to train his mind to view everything he encounters, persons, objects, events, and experiences, realistically as transient phenomena dependently arisen through conditions. He should reflect upon them in terms of the 3 characteristics, as impermanent, unsatisfactory, and without a self. Doing so will help to reduce the investment of self-concern in these phenomena, and thereby will reduce the craving and attachment for them. He should also avoid anger, anxiety, and pride, the thoughts of me and mine, since such emotions are productive of stress and strain. When one adopts this attitude to life, one will discover greater detachment, deeper calm, more durable peace of heart even amidst the same situations that previously produced nothing but stress and worry. The key to managing stress is through the disciplining and mastery of the mind. One can also reduce stress by forming good work habits. One should confine oneself to doing one thing at a time, since attempts to juggle multiple tasks only lead to poor results in all of them. One should keep work and leisure separate. One should work in a relaxed frame of mind, repeatedly reminding oneself during the course of the day that one can accomplish more work and better work if one works calmly and intersperses one's routine with breaks. The following additional disciplines will also be helpful in combating stress and tension. 1. Keeping the 5 precepts conscientiously. The feeling of guilt increases stress. By observing the precepts, a person leads a blameless life and thereby enjoys freedom from the nagging sense of guilt that harasses one who violates the basic rules of morality. A guilty conscience is a vexing companion during the day, an uncomfortable bedfellow at night. 2. Sense control. The mind is constantly attracted to pleasant sense objects and repelled by unpleasant objects. Wandering recklessly among the objective fields, it becomes scattered and distraught. By guarding the sense doors, this wasteful agitation is checked. The mind becomes calm and settled, and as a result, one experiences an unblemished happiness. 3. Meditation. Meditation, or bhavana, purifies the mind. As the mind is gradually cleansed, one can see with greater clarity the true nature of life. One then becomes increasingly detached from worldly things and develops an equanimity that cannot be shaken by the fluctuations of fortune. 4. Cultivating the 4 sublime attitudes. The 4 sublime attitudes, Brahma Vihara, are loving kindness, compassion, altruistic joy, and equanimity. These are enlightened emotions that reduce the stress and strain of daily life, improve interpersonal relationships at home and in the workplace, promote racial accord and amity, help in the development of an even mind, and increase calm and inner peace. 5. One final piece of practical advice. Time, energy, and funds are limited, while wants are unlimited. Therefore, a person must have a sense of priorities. A lay Buddhist, in particular, must be able to discriminate, to know what is really essential to a wholesome life, what is desirable but not urgent, what is trivial and dispensable, and what is detrimental. Having made these distinctions, one must pursue what ranks high in the scale of priorities and eschew what ranks low. This will enable one to avoid unnecessary waste and worry. Observing the 5 precepts. The minimal code of ethics followed by a lay Buddhist is the 5 precepts of virtue, Pankasila. These precepts are moral rules voluntarily undertaken to promote the purity of one's own conduct and to avoid causing harm and suffering to others. Evil conduct is harmful to oneself and others and strengthens the defilements of greed, hatred, and delusion. To engage in unwholesome activity is not merely a matter of free choice. It is a violation of the cosmic moral law entailing inevitable suffering both in this life and in future existences. The opposite of evil conduct is virtue, sila. Virtue involves the avoidance of immoral deeds by voluntarily accepting ethical principles of restraint. Virtuous action springs from the 3 wholesome roots of non-attachment, goodwill, and wisdom. By undertaking moral precepts, one pledges to regulate one's conduct in accordance with these 3 virtuous qualities. The 5 precepts are as follows: to abstain from killing living beings, to abstain from taking what is not given, that is, from stealing, to abstain from sexual misconduct, to abstain from false speech, to abstain from intoxicants and harmful drugs. Following the 5 precepts also implies shunning the 5 kinds of occupation forbidden to a lay Buddhist: trading in arms in human beings, that is, including slavery and prostitution; in flesh, that is, breeding animals for slaughter; in intoxicants; and in poisons. Virtue, though formulated negatively in the precepts, is not a mere negative state. To the contrary, it is most decidedly a powerful mental achievement. To observe the precepts conscientiously in one's daily life brings a simultaneous growth in mental purity, skillfulness, and wisdom. Refraining from killing, for example, increases compassion and loving kindness for all living beings, two of the sublime attitudes extolled by the Buddha. Honesty gives courage, generosity, and love of justice. Sexual restraint results in physical strength, vitality, and keenness of the senses. Truthfulness makes for uprightness. Avoiding intoxicants and stupefying drugs promotes clarity of mind. Finally, mindfulness is essential to observing all the precepts, and one's constant effort to maintain the precepts in turn issues in an increase in the clarity of mindfulness. The habitual practice of the 5 precepts leads to increased self-control and strength of character. The mind that succeeds in controlling desire, even to a slight degree, gains in power. Desire is a force every bit as real as electricity. When desire is uncontrolled, allowed to run riot, it expends itself in the pursuit of things that are harmful to oneself and others. The Buddha's teaching, far from encouraging the proliferation of desire, counsels us in the methods by which we may harness, divert, and sublimate the powerful force of desire and use it for worthy ends. Virtue is the first stage in the development of the Noble Eightfold Path. As explained above, it comprises the path factors of right speech, right action, and right livelihood. The energy conserved by virtue is then used for the practice of the second stage, concentration of mind, which in turn is the soil for the growth of wisdom. The observance of the 5 precepts is a voluntary act which each individual must take up on his or her own initiative. The Buddha did not formulate the precepts as commandments, nor did he threaten anyone with punishment for violating them. However, this much has to be said. The Buddha perfectly understood the workings of the universe, and he proclaimed the inviolable moral law of cause and effect. Good deeds beget pleasant fruits. Evil deeds beget painful fruits. The 5 precepts are the guidelines the Buddha has bequeathed us to steer us away from evil conduct and towards the lines of conduct that will prove most beneficial for ourselves and others. When we mold our actions by the 5 precepts, we are acting in accordance with the Dhamma, avoiding future misery and building up protection and happiness for ourselves and others, both here and in the hereafter. Thus, the closer we live to the 5 precepts, the greater will be the blessing power of our lives.